Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to what's new in Infor OS Platform in the October 2024 release. Before we start, we have a disclaimer for you. The main point is that this is not comprehensive release training. You can find that on Infor U. Our target audience is the admins, the developers, the super users who use our solutions every day. We want to give you a heads up about what's new and how it can be of use to you. I would also like to add that if any of our presenters talk about the future, whether it is timelines or capabilities, those can change. We have a full agenda today. The timings here are approximate and they are from this moment onward. So if you want to see only GenAI, you should be back in about 38 minutes. We have a few housekeeping items. First of all, the full list of enhancements and new capabilities can be found on Concierge in the Release Center. You can find it on the left side of the screen towards the bottom of the page. Our expert presenters are available throughout the session to answer your questions. In addition, we have Sadiq Shaikh, who is the product manager for API Gateway. You can post your questions in the chat. I would like to take a minute to advertise our fairly new developer portal. It is full of valuable content like tutorials and best practices, so be sure to visit the site and bookmark the page. The session will be recorded, and you can find the video with other great videos on our YouTube channel. There will be a QR code posted throughout the session and a link to the feedback form. We would love to hear your thoughts about the session. As the last item before our agenda, I'm thrilled to announce the 2024 Infor Community Hackathon kicking off this month. The hackathon is all virtual, no cost, and open to all non-Inforians. Registration opens next week on the 24th. Be sure to follow us on social media for more updates on the event. For more information on the hackathon, our opening ceremony webinar is happening that same day. We've dropped links in the chat to watch the event live on YouTube or LinkedIn. And if you have any questions about the hackathon in the meantime, you can reach us at hackathon@infor.com. We will start our lineup today by introducing process mining. Cloud Solution Architect Siddharth Chalasani will offer insights into the product and features.
Hello, a quick introduction into Infor Process Intelligence, the process mining capability. Why do we call it as a complete business process solution? Because Infor Process Intelligence is comprised of three components. The first is the process viewer, where we at Infor take the advantage of the industry process catalogs that we have built for the various industries that Infor caters to. Next, we have the process modeler, where we can extend the industry-specific business process models with your own content. And finally, we have the process mining, which helps in assessing the performance of your business processes, benchmark across the industry standards or internally within your organization. It also helps to identify opportunities to continuously improve and ensure conformance and compliance against the prescribed business process model. Infor Process Mining is a complete business process solution that empowers businesses with advanced process analytics, uncovering actionable insights to optimize business processes, enhance decision-making, and drive transformative efficiency gains across their processes and procedures. Process mining is essential for Infor customers leveraging ERP systems for unparalleled visibility into their business processes. Infor Process Mining revolutionizes operational insights by leveraging process analytics to uncover hidden patterns and inefficiencies within organizational processes using process discovery. By analyzing transactional event-level data captured within Infor ERP systems, it identifies bottlenecks, deviations, and opportunities for improvement with precision and clarity. This transformative tool empowers businesses to streamline processes, enhance resource allocation, and reduce operational costs effectively. With actionable insights derived from business processes, organizations can make informed decisions to drive continuous process improvements and achieve sustainable growth. Finally, Infor Process Mining is not just a tool for efficiency, it's a catalyst for innovation and strategic advantage in today's dynamic business landscape. Some of the key release highlights for process mining: we start off with the overview, which is a snapshot providing end-to-end business process insights and a high-level understanding of the process. Then we have process discovery, which is a technique of identifying and analyzing business processes using common path metrics. Next, we have the process conformance, which helps in understanding how the executed business process is following the standards defined by the organization. Next, we have the case details, which helps in exploration of micro-level insights into specific case details in a business process. Benchmarking and analysis by attributes is a systematic process to measure the process performance to industry standards and dive into details by slicing and dicing the process data. And last but not the least, we have the Variant Explorer, which helps to visualize and analyze different variations, providing the opportunity to understand deviations. Now, let's look at a quick demo. In Infor Process Intelligence, there are two new modules that will get added as part of process mining. The first is the Process Insights, where you can view all the Infor provision content along with any new content that you might want to create. Process Mining is the module where you will then be able to make modifications in terms of data definition, in terms of data load management, and also build any new insights. Let's take a quick look into the data definition. Under data definition, the first thing you will notice is you will have the ability to go into one or more of the cloud suites. We're going to pick Cloud Suite Food and Beverage as an example. Inside a cloud suite, you will have access to the different processes that have been provisioned or that you have created. In this case, I'm just going to pick Procure to Pay as our example. What you will see on the left-hand side are the different objects that are part of the Procure to Pay. Each object comprises of different events, attributes, and scripts. The events talk about the actual events that get executed in the underlying system. In this case, that could mean at a PO line level, a purchase order line can be created, a purchase order line can be approved, and many other events that can get executed over that process cycle. You then have the attributes, which then help you in slicing and dicing the data to go into the micro level details. So things like the company, item number, purchase price, etc. And finally, we have the scripts in terms of one script for the attributes that get captured and another script for the events that get executed. Similarly, we have all the different objects that are part of this particular process. And of course, if you would want to create an extension, you have the ability to do that as well. Taking a step back, for each one of the process, we also have what we call as the relationship mapping, which can be defined by process. So just looking at the same Procure to Pay process, this relationship mapping is important for the sequence of events to show up in the right manner. So for example, purchase order and purchase order line should have a parent and child relationship, and any other references in this case to the planned order. And similarly, you will see the references for all the other objects, and that is how the sequence of events will show up under process mining. Next, let's go into the data load management. The data load management also is done at a cloud suite level. Let's pick the same cloud suite that we were looking at, which is food and beverage. And when you go into that, the first thing you will notice is there are three tabs. First is the data definition, second is the default loading definition, and third is the last load definition. The data definition holds all the processes that are part of the cloud suite. Now, on the right side top corner, you will notice the number of cases available and the allocated cases. So based on the tier of subscription, you will then be able to allocate a specific case count to one or more of the processes that are available under the cloud suite. By having auto allocate, it evenly distributes the case count limit. Now in this case, if you want to load for even one or more processes, you simply select on one of them and identify even if you want to do the load for all the objects or for specific objects. And if you want to do the selection for more of them, you can select that and then perform the data load as required. A look into Infor process mining content using process intelligence. This is the overview page, and we are analyzing a procure to pay business process. The specific data set ranges from Jan of 2023 to June of 2024, which is approximately 1.5 years. On the top, what you're seeing is the end-to-end process overview, which talks about the total number of cases that has been analyzed, the end-to-end process cycle time, the number of events, the total number of variants, and the total spend value. Next is the procure to pay cycle time versus industry widget, which talks about how the cycle time has performed over that time frame of 1.5 years. And also, as you can see, we have the ability to compare against the industry standards at the end-to-end process level. In this case, the industry benchmark is 45 days. Finally, we have the sub-process analysis, where you can see the average cycle time and the total number of cases by sub-process area, in this case from PO to put away to inspection, put away to invoice, and invoice to payment. Next, we have the process discovery page. In this page, as you can see, the first insight we would like to look at is the Process Explorer insight. In the insight, what you're seeing on the screen is what we call as the most common path. Why is it called as the most common path? Is because these events are executed in majority number of cases in the same order. So that means that purchase order created is followed by create PO line, is followed by print PO line and sending it to the supplier, and so on and so forth, the rest of the events in this sequence. As we keep increasing the number of events, you will then notice that there are new events that start getting populated, which means that as you tend to increase it, it looks into all the different events that get executed in this procure to pay process. So as we go to the 100%, you will see all the different events that have been executed in this process. Next is the connections. The connections depict the different scenarios that could get executed in this process. So as we keep adding them, you will notice that there have been new cases that tend to get executed in different scenarios. So that would mean that as we continue to increase the number of connections, you will then notice all the various different scenarios that got executed in this procure to pay process. Going back all the way from where we started, the most common path. The other thing that I would like to touch on quickly is what we call as the connection point. Each of these is what we call as the connection points. Let's look at payables invoice, create payables invoice. In this case, as you can see, the output is flowing into PO line partially invoiced. At the same time, there are some that go into the PO line fully invoiced. So when you look at that particular event, you will notice the incoming is only from put away goods. There are close to 35,202 cases, and the outcome is to PO line fully invoiced in 48,000 cases and PO line partially invoiced in approximately 19,000 cases. Where can we find more information? We have two places. One is the Infor U courses, where you will find this release training, and of course the documentation central, where you can go down into the details of the product. Thank you.
Thank you, Sid. That was very impressive. You saw a very brief intro, an appetizer to process mining. There is a process mining only webinar in the works for later this year, with Vice President Product Development Suresh Jayaraman and his team presenting the solution in depth. There is no date yet, so keep an eye on our social media. Now let's turn our attention to Birst with Senior Product Manager Tiffany Canada. Off you go, Tiffany.
Thank you so much, Rena. Hi, everyone. Like Rena said, I'm Tiffany Canada, and we're going to just talk about a couple of our new features that we have coming in October. So to get started, I just want to do a brief introduction as to what is Birst. So Birst is part of all of your Cloud Suite or application analytics that you receive. So most of you have some type of version of Birst within your application that's going to contain different reports that pertain to the content that comes from, let's say, workforce management, M3, FSM, whatever the case may be. So all of the features and functionality that we're going to talk about today are included as part of that package. First, we're going to talk about notifications. So notifications are things that are able to be sent from reports, dashboards, visualizer, or designer. So you may have seen in our April release last year, we did a completely redo of our notification center. And this time we also have some additional capabilities that we have been launching or are planning to launch. So the first one is going to be sending a notification as part of a workflow. So whenever you're uploading your data and publishing it overnight, a lot of times you don't know when that publishing time is actually going to end. And oftentimes we hear customers say, hey, I just got a notification, but the data is still a day old or still a few hours old, depending on when your refresh is. And a lot of times it's because in the past you had to set up that notification for a specific time and that publishing finished after that time was completed. And so what we've created is the ability to actually send the notification after the workflow has been completed. And so that's really going to help to hopefully minimize any type of escalations you get internally from your age users, and also make sure that the data that they're receiving in that notification is completely up to date. In addition to that, we're also adding additional time options. So this is going to allow you to create start and end dates. Also, you're going to have the ability to add weekly, maybe you want to do bi-weekly instead of every week. In the past, you would have to create multiple notifications for that bi-weekly option, and now we're able to do that directly from the notification screen. The start and end date is also great because a lot of times those different notifications may only be something that you're wanting to monitor for a set amount of time. And instead of having to manually go in and cancel that notification once you're no longer monitoring that particular report, you could actually create an end date for that. And of course, you can always edit that as well. So let's go ahead and jump into the program, and let's show you how all of this is done. So to start, I'm actually utilizing M3 content just as our demo today, and we're going to go into the notification screen. Keep in mind that you can do notifications at the dashboard level, the dashboard level, within Visualizer or Designer. So there's a lot of different options available to you to create your notifications. But just in the respect of time, I'm not necessarily going to go through the entire notification setup, but I want to just highlight here the ability to send that notification after a workflow. So once you decide you want to do that, you just set that toggle onto yes, and you can do different options here. You can say, I want this to repeat hourly, daily, weekly, or monthly, or you can just say, hey, when the data loads, anytime that particular workflow is triggered, this will automatically send it. You're also going to have the selection for a trigger workflow, and I'll show you how this works from the backend in just a moment. So just keep in mind that if you're an admin person who is wanting to provide notification options to your end users, you will need to set up this in the orchestration. So this is an admin level functionality. So once I select that and I save this, this is then going to, anytime this particular workflow runs, it's going to then send that notification to the distribution list, to myself, even customers if you're sending it externally as well. The other thing I just wanted to highlight here, if I go into the hourly option, is this is when you can change the start and end date. You have this option on all the various selections here. And then if I go into the weekly option, I'm now able to say, I want to do this every 2. You can select multiple days, or maybe I just want this to be bi-weekly on Wednesday. So you have full options here. And then the last thing I did want to mention, I don't have a slide on this, but in April, we launched the ability to send notifications based on conditions. And if I come into this screen, before we only had these particular options available, but that has now been extended. So you have a lot of different operators available to you. And then we also launched the advanced editor. So if you have a vehicle code of some type of condition that you're wanting to add, you can do that here now as well. Okay, so now we're going to jump into the orchestration just to show you how that trigger is set up. So if I come into orchestration, I'm just going to create a new orchestration really quickly, or a new workflow. So in this particular case, I'm going to add a publishing task. And the space that we want to select is that space that you want to set that trigger up for. So in my demo environment here, I only have access to that one particular space. So I'm just going to go ahead and select that. And then this is going to allow me to begin to create those triggers. So I'm just going to note this as M3 consumer, and then I save this. And then once I save, it's going to appear over here on my workflow screen. And this is where I can actually add that trigger. So the workflow trigger, I can add a label here. So this is going to be a publish. If you want to add a description for notifications. And again, this is going to be connected to the M3 consumer space, and I'm going to select done. So in typical circumstances, if you're doing this based off of content that is pre-delivered, you would want to do that as part of those initial workflows, not create a new one, but just kind of wanted to show what that entire process looks like. So now let's jump into our next feature that we want to discuss. And that is conditional formatting. So you've likely used conditional formatting in things like APIs or also within the actual charts themselves. And this is just that ability to decide if something's hitting a certain threshold, you might want it to be a different color. And so for our new enhancement that we have, we're actually allowing more gradient style formatting so that you don't have to do conditional formatting for each individual level. Used to, you'd have to do that in that advanced tab. And now we're actually allowing for that within the conditional formatting basic option. So you'll still have the ability to create this based off of just the absolute color, or you can do this gradient style. And we've also introduced the ability to do this on an absolute value, so a specific number or a percentage of within that data set. So we think a lot about like AI machine learning data sets. There's a lot of different functionals that are based off of percentage. I want to see what's 50% below the entire sequence of numbers. So that's kind of where we're coming with what's coming up with this concept. So this is going to be available within heat maps, and it's also going to be available within tables. And then we'll be bringing this to other charting, to the other charting libraries, probably starting in April and into next year. So now let's go ahead and jump into a demo of the gradient style formatting. So I'm going to come back into my Birst application. And right now we're in a visualizer report that is showing days late based off a department and also region. And so you can see the different days late here in the little bubbles. And I'm actually going to change this to an average just so that it's giving me a little bit of more meaningful data. And so you can tell like the heat chart is already somewhat gradient. But if you wanted to actually do this between multiple different colors, that's that additional capability that we're adding. So the first thing you're going to do is add this to days late. And so really, whenever it's a days late, the more days, the worse it is, and the less days, the better it is. And so if I say I want 5 to be my threshold, anything under 5 is going to be a solid green, but anything above is going to kind of grady from a green to a red. That's exactly what we're doing here with this new capability. So as I mentioned, you can also do this off of the percentage capability. So if I wanted to say 20%, that automatically will just change. And so everything in that data set that's 20% or below is going to show up in those more green colors. And then everything above is going to begin to show up in the red colors. Now this is going to automatically come onto Radiant, but then you can also do solid colors just like we had before. So there's a lot of different ways that you can utilize this. But there's still the capability for advanced. You can also add multiple. So if I come here and do that with multiple colors, you can see the gradients here as well. That is all I have to show today. Look forward to seeing you all again in April. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany. Next, we have Senior Product Manager Bojan Rafaelski, who will be presenting the latest in Data Fabric.
Thank you, Rina. Hi, everyone. We'll be talking about the enhancements that are coming with the October release for Data Fabric. We'll focus on just one of those as a major release. But before we move on to the enhancements, just a reminder of what's Data Fabric. So Data Fabric is our centralized data platform for Infor applications to send their data, which provides you a cohesive data strategy, helping you accelerate your data to insights strategy. It is a cloud-based application that allows you to integrate your data ingestion, data management, data extraction, as well as analyzing your data from various sources, both in real time and for analytical needs. Today, we'll be talking about data security. Data security or managing data access is crucial for every enterprise. It's important to be able to protect sensitive information, ensuring that only the person that needs to access data has access to that data. Also, the principle of least privilege is very important so that risks are minimized, meaning that users should start with no access to data unless they are granted access to the data. So with that, we would like to announce that we're introducing data security as part of our Data Fabric security framework, which already exists for controlling access for applications within Data Fabric. The problem is that so far Data Fabric didn't have any kind of data security layer on top of it. So anyone that had access to Data Fabric or had access to the Compass query platform, basically they had access to all of the data that resides in Daily. So customers would have to find different ways of securing this or ensuring that only authorized personnel get access to Data Fabric. With that, access to sensitive information or accessing information that personnel should not have access to has been at risk. And with the introduction of data security, we're finally removing that responsibility from the customers to manage their data in another place where they might have security controls. So what's the solution? As I mentioned, as part of the Data Fabric security framework, we're introducing a new feature. It's called data security. You will see it in the security application if you have permissions to access it. It allows you to control security on two levels, on an object level, or as we refer to it also table level, and a property level, or as we also refer to it, column level. It provides you a fine-grained control over sensitive information. So if some person needs access to the full table, you will grant that, or if only they need access to certain columns of the table, you can also grant that level of controls to that users. All of the users, once this feature is enabled, start without any access to the data. That doesn't mean we're breaking any of your solutions today. When this feature is released, the admins have to decide when data security is enforced, and until then, they are able to configure and define which users can access which data. And once everything is set up, they can turn on the data security feature, and that's when things will start to have effect. So what are the benefits and the value of this is that we ensure that now sensitive information is well protected. That means you can provide access to the Compass query platform to more users and ensure they only have access to the data they need. And you can protect information that they shouldn't be able to access, like employee information or sensitive information about some of the customers. The control of level that we are providing as part of the security configuration means that you can have now fine-grained access controls and reducing the further risk of permitting only specific columns of the data to be accessible to the users and not just the full tables. How does this translate in overall experience for the users? It means that now you can provide access to the data to a wider range of users in your organization that can lead to better informed decisions and innovation within the organization, because now all these features from Data Fabric can be provided to the users that need to access data. Okay, so let's see a demo now of how data security works. As part of the demo, I will use two browsers. Basically, I want to impersonate two personas in the organization. One is the data admin or the security admin, who is responsible for managing the security for the users. And another is the user itself, who has been restricted to see only certain portion of the data that exists in the data lake. So this is, in this area, I'm logged in as the admin. You can see I have access to all of the features in Data Fabric, as well as the security feature where data security is configured. It's important to note that as before with security, security is applied on the IFS security roles that are defined in the security of Mingle. This is where for users, you assign specific security roles, and based on those security roles, we manage application security and data security. When I go to security now, I've already added my role for the demo. It's called Analyst Manager. And if I select it, I can see I've granted access to 3 applications for this security role. I can access also Atlas, and that user can also access Compass. When I go to data security, I filtered out the results here, so now I'm seeing only those tables that I've given the user access to. But if I want, I can also include the tables that I haven't granted access to and start configuring and adding new tables. But in this demo, we'll focus only on this part. Here we have a table that's called customer accounts. I've given the user full object access. That means they have access to all the columns within the table. And on this other table, employee details, I've given them only property access. That means from all of the columns that exist for this table, I've given only access to a subset of them. And as you can see, I've excluded the salary, social security number, date of birth, and other potentially sensitive information that the user should not access. Additionally, I've granted them access to a view, which is something that's been created in Compass, and users can be granted views instead of access to the objects or to the properties of the object. Additionally, I can see here which users have this security role, so I know which users have access to this data that are permitted within this role. I will switch now to the actual user, so this Jane demo. Okay, so I'm now logged in as the user that we were just restricting, and you can see that user has no access to security page, so they are not able to change their security by themselves, but they have access to Atlas and Compass. And if we go to Compass, we should see they have only access to a very limited number of data that exist in the total of the daily. So they have only access to these two objects, and they have access to only this view. And if we look at the BR employee details object, where we remove the hire date, the salary, we can see that the user cannot see those columns exist, and they're not able to access the data for them. In these other customer accounts, they had full access, so they can see all the columns that exist for that object. When they query this, table, even if they include a select star or try to hit columns they don't have access to, their queries will be rejected because they don't have access for those columns. Or if they use select star, they will get back only the records that only the columns for the records they were permitted to. You can see here now those salary details, hire date, and birth date are not returned as part of the result set. How this affects data fabric services, that means any of usage of the data fabric APIs, usage of the Compass JDBC driver and APIs, usage of the purge function, use of the Atlas browser as well. If we go here, we will still see only one object. That's the object where the user has full access. That means anywhere within the data fabric ecosystem, users are now restricted from accessing the data they are not permitted. Okay, thank you, Rina. That's been with my demo for data fabric security.
Thank you, Bojan. Next up on the agenda is Infor Artificial Intelligence with Product Manager Jasmina Fiteska. Welcome, Jasmina.
Thank you, Rina. Good to be here. So artificial intelligence is a data science technology platform that incorporates a complete ensemble of tools for predictive and prescriptive models consumption, their design, training, and deployment, all tailored for enterprise applications. And for the upcoming October release, I want to highlight the incremental training capability for machine learning models that is included in the Infor OS license as the latest introduced functional feature. Incremental training is highly significant for a machine learning model's maintenance process in a way that it allows users to save and use previously trained predictive models as a foundation for efficient retraining with the latest data. Now, going back to the initial model training, machine learning models normally require training on big data in order to better recognize patterns and make accurate predictions for the future. For these reasons, training is intense on resource consumption as well as time-consuming. And after the initial training, the process is still not over, and because the deployment of the model is complete, but it needs to be regularly maintained in order to ensure that the model remains responsive to evolving data patterns. Before introducing this feature, this kind of model maintenance was still possible, but only by retraining the model from scratch on the entire historical dataset. Now, with the option to train models incrementally, you can efficiently apply only the latest data and build upon the initial model knowledge. This approach significantly reduces the computational resource consumption and time, while ensuring the models stay always up to date with the latest information and keep up the high performance and accuracy. Now let's see how we can apply incremental training in the machine learning quest. I'm going to share the application user interface. And I'm going to start with a quest I previously prepared where I trained a machine learning model using the standard process with a little small difference and an introduction of the capability to save a machine learning model. This capability is available inside the train model with custom algorithm activity in the model settings. So here I have the save model checkmark that I can turn on and off in order to save a machine learning model. Once I do that, these fields of name and description will appear, and I can add a custom name and description for my model. So let me just show you how this activity looks like before it's configured. I'll just put here one for demonstration purposes. So before, as you saw in this training activity, I have checkmarked the save model activity. And going back to this one that is still not configured, if I'm going to check this checkbox, I can easily name and add a description for my model. That's upon the quest execution will become available in the models library. And the models library is a new page that we introduced in the platform itself, where you can see an overview of all the saved models that you have in the application. So here you see my demo saved model. And in the context menu, I have the possibilities to edit the name and description for the model. Then I can also view the usage for this model with hyperlinks to the exact quests where this model is applied, either saved or used as an incremental start. I can also download the model and do additional troubleshooting in case I need that, or simply delete the model when I don't need it anymore. So let's say from this machine learning model training, 3 months have passed. And now I want to retrain the model in order to consider the latest data patterns. So what I did, I prepared this incremental data set where I pulled in the data from the data lake only for the last 3 months. And I've prepared that in the dataset section. Now I'm going to go back to my quest. And in the import data activity, I'm going to specify this just latest data increment that I just showed you here in the datasets part. So once I've done that, I'm going to bring in an input model activity, which is a new activity that we introduced, where you can specify the warm start or the model that you've previously saved for this specific incremental training. You see here, I select a previously saved model as a starting point for the current model training. I'm just going to add this activity. And once I go into the configuration, I can just filter out to see my saved model here and select it. And I will connect this model as an input to the train model with custom algorithm activity. And for the purpose of just ingesting this saved models here, we've introduced a fourth input port to the train model activity. So now, if I run this quest, the model will be, the saved model, the stored model that I have in my models library will be updated with this setting. If I want to experiment with the quest in various ways, whether I want to change the activities or the pre-processing of the data, maybe I want to change the hyperparameters of the model, so I'm doing some experiments and tryouts, I can just simply uncheck the save model activity here, so that I don't override the current version, which I might want to be reusing later in case the results from this retraining I'm not happy with. Otherwise, I can just keep the save model activity, save model option on in the configuration, and the model version that is being saved in the models library will always keep its latest version for the subsequent model retrainings. And that's pretty much it about this interesting feature that will really affect the resources and time spent for model maintenance and retraining. Back to you, Rina.
Thank you so much, Yasmina. We will now hear from Senior Product Manager Natalia Ptacek, who will be walking us through GenAI enhancements.
Hello, I'm Natalia Ptacek, the Senior Product Manager, a part of the Infor OS team. And today I will be talking about the release feature for Infor GenAI platform. The Infor GenAI is a generative AI platform, part of our Infor OS platform, that leverages the large language models, in short LLMs, and enables the Infor applications as well as the third-party application to utilize the generative AI capabilities. The GenAI can assist with the tasks such as the text generation, data generation, translation, the contextualization of the text, as well as the analysis. By integrating the GenAI into those tasks, the companies can save time, boost the productivities, as well as enhance the employees' efficiency across different business applications. Beyond the text generation, the GenAI will redefine the way we are interacting with the chatbot by introducing the Infor GenAI assistant. Those assistants will be available as limited availability from October 2024. And thanks for it, our users would be able to use the natural language in order to retrieve data from various Infor cloud suites. The GenAI service exposed the direct access to large language models via APIs exposed on API Gateway. The adopting applications can invoke the large language model APIs in order to provide the business context and expose the outcome from the LLM as embedded experience into application screens or via smart widgets. The integration with the LLM can support the use cases around the text generation, the content contextualization, the data analysis, as well as translation. Those capabilities are the base capabilities of large language models. The creation of the authoring text, the translation, and also, for instance, the report generation from specific data insights are very time consuming and require specific skills, which companies may find challenging to find. Thanks for the GenAI, which exposes the large language model APIs, the applications can integrate with the large language model and instruct it to generate specific text to support specific use cases. For instance, you can generate an executive report summary by providing a guided instruction called prompt together with the business context, so the data on a specific project, in order to generate the executive summary report. This integration provides a quick and efficient way of generating the text, which saves time and allows the employees to focus on more creative stuff. The prompt engineering is a process of designing and refining the input to the large language model, called prompt. Thanks for it, we can actually obtain a desired output from large language model. And it's also important to experiment with different large language model and iteratively refine the prompt which we are inputting to them. Thanks for it, we can control the GenAI behavior and get the desired output from large language models. So as said, it is important to experiment with different large language model, compare the results, as well as change the parameters of large language model in order to get the desired output. For that, the GenAI platform leverages two interfaces. The first one, which we've already discussed, is the large language model pass-through API, which is exposed as part of the API gateway, part of the GenAI suite. The second interface is an user interface part of the GenAI platform under Infor OS, which is built on top of the LLM pass-through API, and it's allowing users to experiment with different prompts and comparing the outputs up to between up to 3 different large language models. Those tools are available to the GenAI admins, and it allowing them to iteratively improve the prompts which are being input to the large language model in order to generate desired output from the large language model. Once the GenAI will be provisioned on your tenant, you will see a new pop-up message about GenAI alerting you that the GenAI capabilities have been enabled. And as admin, you'll get the access to the GenAI application under Infor OS. And here you will be able to go to the prompt playground and start actually experimenting with different large language models by providing the prompt and generating the model completion, so the output of the large language model. And you will be able to select up to 3 large language models to generate the completion and compare it between those 3 different large language models. The second user interface which we are exposing is the API. So if you go to API Gateway, there will be a new suite, GenAI, and here you will be able to access 2 main APIs. The first one is Get Models, which is allowing us to retrieve the list of supported large language models together with their version as well as description and number of the tokens. And the second API is the Prompt API, which is allowing us to send us our prompts to the specific large language model. The required property is the logical ID of an application. So for instance, info.genai.genai. And as part of the request body, you will be asked to provide the model name as well as the model version together with the prompt itself. And in order to find the model name and the version, you would need to use the first API, which we've just shown, so to get the list of the models. So here you see the response as well as the content which was generated.
Thank you, Natalia. Up next, Product Manager Rohan Somasundaram with Infor Document Processor.
My name is Rohan Somasundaram. I'm the product manager for Infor Document Processor, and this is going to be an introduction to Infor Document Processor. This is a new product that is generally available as of this October, for this October release. Previously, it was bundled as part of RPA. So this serves as a high-level overview as well as some demonstrations on the new product. So with that, just an overview of Infor Document Processor, or IDP. What is it exactly? This is an in-house solution for OCR, or optical character recognition capability, built by Infor, and it is a complete document digitization platform. So what I mean by that is, if you imagine a document coming into the Infor ecosystem, or IDP, first you need to extract the text from that document. From there, using that text, we can identify what type of document it is. Is it an invoice? Is it a purchase order? Is it a pick list? So on and so forth. We call this document classification. Next, we have entity classification, or the ability to identify within each of those documents. So take the invoice, for example, within it, understanding the entities within that and being able to extract that information. So invoice number, invoice date, payment amount, so on and so forth. From there, we can go further and we can then take that document as well as the metadata, or what's been extracted, and store that document in IDM, our document management solution, or create a record in the ERP. And all of this is done without the need for manual intervention. So we can do this all automatically, which provides time savings, cost savings, resource savings, and it's overall a more efficient process. So this is Infor Document Processor in a nutshell. We are integrated with AWS Textract, which provides AI and ML capability. We don't want to be creating templates for each invoice, for example, for a vendor. We want to be able to use AI and ML and be able to dynamically extract all this information. And subsequently, also for this October release in limited availability, we have IDP with GenAI capability. So next up, I mentioned briefly in the first slide that IDP was bundled with RPA, our robotic process automation software on product previously. Now, IDP has its own dedicated user interface. So here you're able to use pre-built Infor flows or build your own custom flows using our document processor flow activity builder, which you'll see. And additionally, you have a UI to be able to see side by side the actual document that was scanned as well as what has been extracted. So with that, we're going to have a quick recording that shows how IDP can be used to extract text from a document. This is the Infor Document Processor user interface. In order to scan a document, select Try It Now on one of the pre-built flows and upload your document. In this case, we will upload an invoice document for the invoice classification pre-built flow. This is the example of the invoice document that we have uploaded. It's a standard invoice with information like invoice number, invoice date, due date, so on and so forth. Here, we can see the information that was extracted on the right-hand side and the actual invoice on the left-hand side. Each color box corresponds to the color-coded box on the right-hand side with the actual key value information extracted from the invoice document. You can see information like invoice number, invoice date, due date, so on and so forth that have been extracted from the invoice document previously shown. On subsequent pages, you can see the remaining information of all the invoice document that has been extracted. So that just showed a quick example of what an extraction looks like using an invoice document. Next up, I mentioned before that we have these document processor flow activity builders that allow you to build your own custom use cases for use cases that are not developed out of the box by Infor. And so with that, each of the activities can be seen here. We have text extraction, as well as document classification, which I mentioned briefly before, entity classification, and then additional options after that, like saving the document to IDM or sending a BOD to ION. Now, these are processes that are coming in a later release, but this is the overall document processor flow builder that allows you to build your own custom use cases for documents that are not provided by Infor. And so with that, the best way to illustrate this is another demo. And so this demo will show how to build a custom document processor flow. Now we'll walk through how to create a custom document processor flow. Document processor flows consist of pre-built flows provided by Infor or custom-built flows for custom use cases not provided by Infor out of the box. Here we have a list of all the flows available, both pre-built as well as custom-built flows. Now we'll walk through how to create a custom-built flow. We can see here that if we want to create a new flow, you select this add icon here at the top right to build a new flow. Here we can call this flow invoice sample flow _ 1 and have a description here, document classification and entity classification for invoices and purchase orders. And we'll rename this here actually for invoice and PO sample flow. If we go to the next screen, we can see the document class section here. In order to add a new document class, we select the top right icon here. Here I can select a purchase order as my first document class. For the sake of speed with this example, I will select one of the pre-built flows just to give you an idea of how to quickly add in entities. So we'll put in this purchase order flow here that was pre-built by Infor. You can see the entities that are associated with it. If you wanted to build this out yourself with your own custom entities, you can do so by adding the appropriate entities that are needed for whatever use case you want, and you can add them at the bottom here. But in this case, I will remove that and we'll use the pre-built flow to speed up the demonstration. I'll go ahead and save this for the purchase orders first, and now we will add in an invoice flow, our document class, and we will also use the pre-built invoice classification model using this one. So we'll add that in and click Save. Now we have two document classes as part of this flow. On the next panel, we can see here the activity builder. In this case, we have document classification, so I'll drag that into the activities for this one. We also have entity classification, so I can use this entity classification activity and add this in as well. In this case, what this illustrates is that if you, for example, had a folder on your desktop of purchase orders and invoices, in order to extract the relevant data from them, we first need document classification to identify what type of document each one is within the folder. Is it a purchase order or is it an invoice? Subsequently, after determining that, using entity classification, we can extract the relevant entities or key value pairs within the document based on what type of document it is, whether it's a purchase order or invoice. Subsequently, we have an activity here as well where we can save the document to IDM along with the relevant attributes. I will remove this one for now for the sake of the demonstration, but that is available as well. If I go to the next panel, here we can upload sample documents to train the model. So if we want to upload documents, you just go into your file folder and upload sample documents. In this case, for the sake of this example, I'll just upload one. If I go to the next slide, the next panel in this is the summary and the training of the model. To train the model, you can either select Train Now or schedule a training. In this case, we only uploaded one sample, so it gave an insufficient samples notification. And you can see the training accuracy as well at the top right. We'll save this as a draft, and then we can see it as part of one of these document processor flow activities within the document processor flow user interface. That is how we create a document processor flow within IDP. In summation, with document processor that's built in-house by Infor, there's a few benefits that come with it. It's a solution developed by Infor to work with the Infor ecosystem. It is not template-based and it's highly AI-driven. It's a powerful platform to deal with any type of document using custom document processor flows that you can build as a user. And it's integrated out of the box with Infor RPA as well to build into your RPA workflows right out of the gate. So with that, that is an overview of IDP that is coming as generally available for this October release. Thank you.
Thank you, Rohan. And back to Natalia, this time for RPA.
I'm Natalia Ptaszek. I'm the Senior Product Manager of Infor OS Platform, and I'm responsible for Infor RPA, Infor Robotic Process Automation. And today we'll look into the features which were released as part of the October 2024 release. Infor Robotic Process Automation, in short Infor RPA, allows you to automate your business processes, which are repetitive, time-consuming, rule-based, and normally will be run by your employees, but today can be run by the software robots or bots. RPA is part of the multi-tenant cloud offering. It's an add-on to Infor OS Core. However, it comprises of the components which reside on your on-premise device as well as in the multi-tenant cloud environment. For instance, the RPA Studio, it's a Windows application which needs to be installed on your on-premise device. It is used for building your RPA flows. Well, the RPA management is the multi-tenant cloud application under Infor OS, allowing you to manage your automation processes execution. Automation of the processes will allow you to free up your workforce so that they can focus on more creative and value-added tasks. RPA can lead to significant cost savings by reducing the manual label, minimizing errors, and also improving the process efficiency. The AI-driven text extraction from business documents refers to the use of the artificial intelligence in order to classify, identify, and extract data from various business documents, such as invoices, bill of lading, and more. This technology uses the machine learning as well as GenAI to accurately process and understand the content to be able to extract those data. But by automating the processes for the AI-driven text extraction, you are reducing the manual effort and also minimizing the errors while extracting data from business documents. The traditional text extraction from business documents, like the template-based extraction or the key value extraction, struggles with the scalability, adaptability, and flexibility. They are prone to error. And also, each time you use a different business document, you need to adjust the template or the key value extraction. With the 2024 October release, we are leveraging the IDP Infor Document Processor flow-based text extraction, which is driven by the machine learning and GenAI capabilities. You can reuse the IDP flow-based extraction as part of your RPA processes, which you are modeling inside of the RPA Studio. The intelligence text-based extraction of invoices or other business documents, as said, reduces the manual effort, minimizes the errors, and also accelerates the data-driven decisions. Now I would like to show you a quick demonstration of the AI-driven text-based extraction. First, we'll go to the Infor Document Processor to visualize for you how the data are being extracted using those AI capabilities. Here I uploaded one of the invoices in order to do the entity extraction and also the table-based extraction. So here you see the extracted columns as well as the rows from the table itself. Now we'll go to the RPA Studio and show you how to configure the flow together with the flow-based text extraction. For that, we are using the extract data activity. It is an existing activity which was just enhanced with the flow-based extraction. For that, you'll need to provide the path to the document itself as part of the document path property of this activity. And now configure the flow-based extraction by selecting a proper IDP flow. There are 3 flows which are pre-provisioned in case you have the GenAI capability enabled as part of your tenant. It is just the GenAI capability text extraction is only available as limited availability from October 2024. As part of the flows-based extraction, you need to select a specific field which you would like to extract. Then, in order to actually move forward, you would need to save your settings. You can also adjust it by move the fields back and forth from flow fields to selected fields. And then once you are happy with the configuration, you can hit save. This specific flow is about extracting the table data and inputting them into the Excel spreadsheet. I won't go through each and every single activity part of this flow as it is advanced, but the most important thing is the outcome, that we are able to use any of the invoice documents following a different template and do the text extraction using the IDP flow, leveraging the AI capabilities. While I will be running the flow, I will be showing you which data are being extracted. So here you see those different columns together with the values which are extracted. And now one by one, I will be extracting the values for each of the column and row. We'll do it pretty quickly, but it will also provide you with the feeling on how complex the RPA process can be. Once the process is run, we can go to the spreadsheet and see the extracted table data inside of the Excel spreadsheet.
Thank you again, Natalia. Senior Product Manager Nikit Lodhi is our next presenter, and he will talk us about governance, risk, and compliance.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nikit Lodhi. I'm the product manager for the governance, risk, and compliance solution. And in this session, we'll be looking at the new enhancements that have been delivered with the October release. So, to start with, let me just do a quick recap of what Infor GRC is for the newer audience members. So, Infor GRC is a governance, risk, and compliance solution. And what it does is it monitors your complex business data against the policies which are based on your business objectives and the regulatory compliance. So these policies are basically mapped to the business controls or the rules that are provided out of the box. And then we compare it against the transformed business data in order to identify the risk. And these are the risks that are available for the business owners to act upon. And typically, what we would like to recommend is we don't want you to do a once in a while audit and identify the risk. We want to imbibe the culture of continuous controls monitoring. And with that, you'll be able to timely identify the violation and perform the remediation task of those violations. And that will basically help you automate the audit process and help reduce the cost of compliance. So with that, we can dive into the list of enhancements. So this is a brief list of enhancements that has been delivered with the October release. We'll not go into each of them line by line, but at a high level, some of the highlighted ones are the machine learning based watch list insight, where we are taking up the power of machine learning with Infor GRC. And then we have also got some enhancements related to GenAI. So those have also been made available with the October release, and a couple of product enhancements that you can see. So with that, let me dive into one of the enhancements that we'll be looking into as a part of this session, which is basically a new integration mechanism that we are delivering with Infor GRC. So far, the information that was delivered to GRC was always using business object documents or bots, and all that data would come in. And there was always a limitation for the publishing applications to provide this data in a particular format. With the new enhancement that we are delivering with the October release, we'll now be able to leverage the tables that have been replicated by the applications in Data Fabric and then create a view on top of that and extract that data into GRC. And that way, we eliminate the dependency on board. There will still be one dependency that will exist, which is basically the user bot that is coming in from IFS, and that is something that is mandatory for the adoption for any application to be in the multi-tenant cloud. So that will continue to exist. However, what will change is the role and the permission data that would come in from the application. So they would no longer need to publish a bot, but we can just get the data from the view that will be created on top of the tables and then get that data into GRC. And again, this will not be triggered from the application per se. We can trigger the extraction from GRC, so that will make it more optimal and it will be easier to get the data into GRC. So this is the high level structure that we are going to follow, but I'll not dive into this as well. So we'll quickly jump into the application and we'll take a look at the demo. Right, so I am logged in into one of our internal environments, and I'm starting with the starting point, which is Data Fabric. So there are all these tables that are already replicated into Data Fabric for multiple applications, and we are focusing on Cloud Suite Distribution or CSD. So what we have done is we have created the views that are necessary for us using the tables that are present here. So you can see these are the primary four views using which we'll be extracting the data into GRC. And just to give you a high level overview of what a particular view would look like, you can see the permission view that we have created. So you can see that the key elements are using a concatenation of some of the keys that are coming in from various tables, which grant you access to different levels. So it could be a screen, which is a menu or a sub menu, or it could be a resource that you are getting access to. and whatever that resource is called out here in the form of transaction type. So there's a lot of complexity in this. And then we have concatenated or included the logical ID of the application. So all of that has been done, and we have created this view. And let me also show you what the output looks like. So this is the select query I'm running on the same view, and when I run, you'll see the output. So basically you will be able to see the permission ID, the name of the permission, the description, and other fields. And that is what has been created by the view that we generated. So you can see this is the output, where you can see the permission ID, which is a concatenation, and you can see the name. Again, there are different types of names that are there. You can see the description, you can see the logical ID, and all the relevant information, some of the metadata that data fabric itself creates, like the variation ID and stuff. So all of that is already here in place. So now let me switch over to GRC, and the first step would be for GRC to point to that application. So what we would do is we'll create an application instance, so that we have a mapping between GRC and the view, and that would be created by creating an application instance. So this is the same logical ID that we have in the views as well. You provide the name of the application, and these are the 4 views that we need, which are of importance to us. So these are the views that are created, and we have pointed the application instance here. The next step would be to navigate to manage, and then you would go into schedules, and then you would trigger an extraction. So you click on new and you click on extraction, and then you provide the name of the task, and then you click on the next button here, and then you select the insight, which is authorization insight, because we are extracting the security data. And in the data source, let me put in the same application name, which is CSD, and I'll click on that, and I'll again pick the same application instance, and you'll see that it will automatically populate the objects that are mapped to this application instance. And then you click on next, and then you pick a specific time. It could be a recurring schedule, it could be something that you schedule during the off-peak hours. It doesn't really matter, because everything is happening in GRC, and you can also have it as a recurring schedule in case the views are getting updated on a regular basis. So that's the critical step that you perform. And once you have the schedules in place, we will run the extraction, and then you will be able to see that data in GRC. So for that, let me navigate to monitor and data page, and let me also filter the specific application for which we want to see the data. Right, and now the user data is the same. So let's focus on the permission data that we looked at in the data fabric views. And you'll see, so these are the permissions that have been extracted out of data fabric, and you'll see all the details here. So AO, AP, these are all abbreviations for accounts payable and different pages or menus that have been accessed in CSD. And when you click on view permission, you could see the information about whether is it full access or no access, and what kind of access is granted. Let me also filter out one of the examples that we saw in the view. So there was OEET, and you'll see this is the specific key that was created by concatenation of multiple keys and the transaction type. And you can see the different permissions here. When you look at the permissions here, you'll see them, they are a bit different. It is either you have authorized grant, or you can grant authority to somebody else, or you're not authorized. So different types of permission associated with the different kind of permission being granted. So that's how the data is coming in into GRC. And once this data is there, then you can build rules and identify violations. So with that, I would like to conclude the session. Back to you, Reena.
Thank you so much, Nikit. From GRC, we move on to OS Portal with product manager Caitlin Porter.
Next up, we have Infor OS Portal. So Infor OS Portal is our single app blended experience to the customers that provides simplified navigation to all of their Infor applications, as well as streamlined workflows and workspaces that deliver relevant data content. So the first enhancement we have is workspace backgrounds. So previously when workspaces were delivered, there was no ability to customize these workspaces with any type of background color or anything. So now we've added the ability users can upload their own image to be used on a workspace. They can select from a range of colors or predefined backgrounds. They can upload their own custom company branding image. And we also provided a setting for admins to enable or disable this feature on private workspaces for end users to customize their own workspaces. So this just allows them to differentiate between workspaces and things like that. So if I hop over to Portal and jump into workspace settings over here, you can see now we have all of these additional settings. So you can choose a default, you can choose a background color, and this is a set of predefined colors. You can see a preview down below. If I hit save and jump over to my workspace and hit a refresh, you'll see that color being applied. We also have the option of background images. So we have a set of predefined background images. You can upload your own image if you wanted to. And in here, you can see a preview of it below. So if I select one of these and hit save, then go back over to my workspace and hit refresh, you'll notice that that background image is applied. We also have this setting here. So this allows users to set their own background on their own private workspaces. So if I go into this button, this configure button up here, we now have a background notebook tab setting. Here you can select an image, save it, and it'll apply to the users, just the user's private workspace. If I go over to a public one and refresh, you'll notice it doesn't change there. So nice little feature to kind of differentiate the different workspaces for users and ad branding. Our next enhancement is the increase in insight groups. So we had a lot of customer requests to increase the amount of insight groups allowed. Previously, it was 3 public or published and 3 private insight groups. So this is kind of limiting. So we increased it to 6 published and 6 private. This just allows them to add more KPIs and things like that in their smart panel when they're working. So over here, if I jump over to an application document management and open the smart panel, you'll see now in this drop list now that I have 12 insight groups that are allowed. If I try to add another one, it'll give me an error message saying that I'm only allowed to have 6 private, and then the 6 public that were added were controlled by the admin. So nice little customer enhancement request there. Lastly, we have filters and settings. So originally when we delivered workspaces, there was no ability to filter on the data that was shown on the workspaces. So now we have this new dialog that will allow you to turn features on or off, as well as set specific filter settings. So these can allow users to configure their workspace environment, tailor it to what they want to see, reduce the amount of data that's returned so they get a much more functional workspace that is relevant to their roles. So if I jump over here into Portal, into Workspace, and if I go to the Publish Workspaces setting and select from one of the standard workspaces here, you can see now we have this Features button up in the toolbar. So if I click this, I can turn features on or off for a workspace. I also now have this Filter Settings button. So this filter modal will allow me to add rules for certain filters, dynamic values, static values, things like that. I can go down and I can add different custom ranges that I want to filter on and things like that. You can also add your own configuration if you want to set your own filters. So if I go over here, you'll see now there's a filter button in the top left. So I can filter on things like company or user ID, date ranges, things like that. And there's an apply filter button that will apply to your workspace. And if I just do a really simple example here, I have a couple values that are hard coded. You can see I can select these values, apply filters, and that widget down below will update based on the filter settings. So this is all done using a new context message. This is that Infor workspace context message that you can see here in the context viewer. So this is a JSON string that will allow widgets to read this message from the filter. So that's all we've got for the 2024.10 Portal release.
Thank you, Caitlin. Next, we have a very quick update on Mongoose from Product Manager Joseph Tran.
All right, hey everyone. So covering Infor Mongoose updates. Oops, sorry. So Infor Mongoose, for those that don't know, we are a rapid application development framework, and we are here to create versatile forms that's user-friendly and easily extensible and scalable. All right, and for the updates, for the first one is all the widget improvements. So the original issues were we lost the ability to do contextual messaging while we moved from Mingle to Portal. And the other enhancements that we had did for widgets are now we have modal integration as well. And we also have the top banner widget available to end users now as well. And the second update is Mongoose UI uplift. So if you are familiar with all the standard blue Mongoose, we have now integrated with the IDS latest controls and icons and theming coloring, which is what you see here in this little screenshot. Is all white primarily. Right now, jumping over to demos really quick. So here is the widget update. This top section here is the Mongoose banner. As you can see, I threw a Mongoose widget in there, and I threw an entire form within the whole header bar. And next update is contextual messaging. So if I click on a record on this one widget, it now passes to the next widget, as well as modal. So if I was to click on view more, it now has the modal feature functionality. Okay, and next update is the UI uplift. So what you see here is the standard old classic UI, and with the new uplift, you now have new icons, new coloring, new theming, new sizing. Everything just looks much sharper, crisper, and to the IDS standard.
Thank you, Joseph. We'll continue with OS App Designer and Product Manager Lucas Rumpeltis.
All right, welcome to this demo of a few new features in OS App Designer. Infor OS App Designer is a no-code, low-code application development platform used to build widgets for OS Portal workspaces. Let's check out what's new. The Mongoose first-class connector is a new data service wizard in OS App Designer. Previously, users had to have some specific knowledge of API endpoints from Mongoose to be able to configure a data service using Mongoose. This enhancement surfaces information from Mongoose to streamline and simplify this process. You're going to create a new data service and choose Mongoose application. Select your chosen Mongoose data source from the list. Mongoose data sources are also known as IDOs, or intelligent data objects. IDOs are organized by project. Create a unique name for your data service and then select the properties you want to use. The wizard surfaces various information from the IDO to assist. Now that you have your properties, use the SQL-style query builder or input your own query to filter your data service and add input parameters. You can change various other advanced settings, including the record limit, before testing your data service. Finally, summarize and save your data service to use it in a page. The next enhancement allows the user to create expressions and bind them in button action settings, input parameters, and refresh settings. An expression is a combination of static values, variables, or component values that is used to create a new value. Before, users could only input static text or a variable. Now, users can format a custom expression for this to fit their business case. The first place this enhancement can be seen is with a button configuration. I have a field with part of the website name in it, so I'm going to append the rest of the URL to open it with a button. When configuring, choose the go-to action for your button, select the expression binding type, open the expression editor, and choose items to add to your expression. I've chosen a component value for my text box and appended static text to complete the URL. After saving, you'll see the rendered value. The user can also bind an expression when setting the default input parameters for a component, as can be seen here. Add parameter and select the expression binding. Open the expression editor. Finally, when selecting the binding type for refresh settings, the user can bind an expression for the refresh interval as well. That can be seen here. The final enhancement today allows the user to identify and change the data type of various output parameters in their data service. The data type refers to how the data will be displayed, such as a decimal, text string, or integer. Before, it wasn't possible to alter this. The data service wizard now shows the existing data type based on the Swagger documentation and lets the user choose a different type. This allows the user to change the displayed data type based on their business case, such as when a decimal is shown, but only an integer is relevant. Select your API gateway-based data service, You can choose data type when you first create your data service, or you can edit an existing data service after viewing its data. Navigate to the output parameters page. Each output parameter will show the data type based on the Swagger documentation. Simply select the column to get the other available data types and customize as you wish. Now this data will appear with the new data type. All right.
Thank you, Lucas. We will now hear from Product Director Nick Gladkov. Nick will show us some of the enhancements for EPM.
Hey, and welcome to Infor EPM release highlights, where we will talk about what's new for Infor EPM for October 2024. Before we go into actual release, let me very quickly recap you what is Infor EPM. So we basically represent ourselves typically in these 5 main buckets, and we talk about things like financial planning, project budgeting, or workforce budgeting for your workforce-related expenses, financial reporting, what-if scenario analysis or simulation analysis, consolidation, CapEx planning, and a few other areas. So if you need any more information about EPM, please check the info.com website or YouTube channel of Infor, where you can find a bit more details, or reach out to me or to us. Let's look into the actual October release. So here you can see the full list of major changes. Again, we have some minor changes which are not visible here, but the main ones are here. We will not talk about all of them. You can see similar buckets over here that we just discussed a second ago. But what I want to mention quickly on that presentation today is financial consolidation improvements. Again, for the users that are using that module or application, it's good news for you. As always, we did quite a few changes. Please check the release report or the training for financial consolidation for more details. I think that will be the best. But I also want to talk about 2 more things, and that basically represents the reporting enhancements. We have 2 parts of it. The first one, we will talk about the new ad hoc financial reporting, new as we released it recently, and now we continue enhancing it. So we'll talk about what we changed over there. And the second one is a brand new financial reporting application. That is the first time you will see it. So for each, I'm going to do the live demo, and I will show you kind of high level of the application, like it's here, all the changes for ad hoc. But before that, I also want to very quickly mention what is coming soon. So in the next few months, you will get that update that we are now releasing the new feature of all updated changes tracking. So all the things like, okay, my data has been changed, who did it, when, how, what was the previous value, what is the new value, and so on. Now we're bringing that into the cloud. Many of you are asking for that, and we planned originally to bring it for October. That's why I'm talking about this today. But it's coming a little bit later. So please be patient. It's coming very soon. So now let me just quickly demo you the few changes with reporting that I was mentioning. So I will need to switch my screen to the reporting application. Let's start with that. So the reporting application, it's a combination of a few things. So basically, and ultimately, we want to make that your reporting, that's end of story. So everything around the reporting should eventually go here. So today what we have is a few things. First is this homepage where you have your KPIs and some of the metrics in the graphical view. So with the KPIs, again, we're giving you the top 10 KPIs out of the box. I will talk about this in a second. And the same idea with charts. It kind of has 6 charts that is available to you when you start the application once you did the initial configuration and map your data to the application. So what you can do here is kind of couple of features. Is first, You can say, oh, I don't like these KPIs, I want to have different KPIs. You have a choice, quite a big choice, to be honest. So we have about 30 KPIs to choose from, and you can say, yeah, I don't like that one, I want to have another one. You can group them differently, you can put and change the order if you want to. And the same thing with the charts. Same idea, we gave it to you by default, and you can change it. With the KPIs, you also obviously can add your own KPIs and move it into that homepage screen. It's up to you how you want to manage it. Then the second part is obviously the reporting itself, where on the left in the navigation, you can see the reports that are available to you. It's profit and loss, balance sheet, and cash flow in a different shape or form. You can navigate to them through the navigation, or you can just go through the charts. Like for instance here, I can go to the first one and my report will be opened in the screen over here. On the left, I will see my context, where I am located right now, what is my organization, currency period, whatever else. I can hide it. On the top, you can see different ways how you can change the way of how you see the screen. For instance, I don't know, you don't want to see any decimals, or you can say, I want to have a scaling or no scaling, and you want to export it, and a few other things. Please check documentation training to find more details about how to work with the application. Again, it's quite powerful, and again, it's available out of the box to you once you map your data and did the initial configuration. If you have any other questions, reach out to us. Please check the trainings, videos, documentation, and anything else which might be useful for you for learning the new application. The second change is about the ad hoc financial reporting. I hope that many of you already tried it and seen it. If not, so what you see on the screen, it's a simple ad hoc slice and dice presentation where you can see things like what will be in the rows, what will be in the columns, what are the filters connected to your data. I'm looking to the sales cube right now. And there you can do quite a few things as well. So what you can do typically out of the box, you can define the format, you can define the rows, columns, which we did, zero suppression, and we did quite a few other enhancements, improvements with October release. As I promised, I will talk about two of them. I will talk about export of data to Excel in this case, and I will talk about the new feature of defining background color for the cells. Both of the features were asked for by many of you, so I'm happy to say that again, that's what is coming in a couple of weeks. And let me show you. The first one is very simple. You can choose all tiles, define the new style. As always, you can do things like scale, text, border, font color, and all the previous ones are here. The new one is a background color. So let's say I put it as an amber color. I will put the name. You can say it's a background style, and I can say yes, and it's over here. So once I have that, the other second change is kind of logical. I can now export it to Excel. So when I export it, I need to define my file name, where I want to save it, open in Excel, and I have exactly the same way how it was in the web, now in Excel. Now I can combine it, I can add some other data sources, I can change the style and use the formulas of Excel. So both features, they might look quite simple, but they're actually quite powerful. And as I said, many of you were asking for that. With that, I think that's the end of my part. As always, please check documentation, trainings, support portal, or anything else that you need to do in order to find more details, create topics in communities, or ask us. We are here for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nick. And last, but definitely not least, Infor ION with Product Manager Daniel Klemenshov.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Daniel Klemenshov, and I am a product manager of Infor ION, Infor iPaaS solution. And during today's session, I will give you a demo of our new feature we introduced in October 2024. This feature release, we introduced not only this feature I will show you, but other great features like complete new UI for OneView and possibility to send your OneView data and process data to Data Lake. And a new connector we added in this release is Kafka connector, and today I will give you more information about the connector. First of all, I will give you some generic information about connector, and then I will make a short demo how it works. Okay, let's start. Okay, current version of new Kafka connector works and developed for Cloud Kafka only. So we tested with Kafka deployed on Confluent and Amazon. This connector allows you to work as a consumer to read data from Kafka and as a producer to write your data to Kafka. And the connector is available for both document flow and data lake flows. Read scenario. So when you act as a consumer of a Kafka data, so you define a topic, you need to define a topic. So topic is a mandatory field, and you can use only one topic for document. Then you need to define a partition, it's optional, and define a scheduler. You can select basic, 1 minute, 1 second, 1 hour, 1 day, or yes, whatever number of days, hours, minutes, or seconds. Or you can use a cron expression for advanced settings. Connector load data from Kafka incrementally, so based on Kafka message offset. But this offset can be reset or rewind using rewind incremental functionality. I will show you it during the demo. When you act as a producer, when you write that data to Kafka, you need to define a document from a data catalog. Then you need to define a topic where you will write the data. Topic is mandatory. And then optionally, you can define a partition and the key for Kafka message. The key can be defined, you can define a custom value for a key, or you can use information from a schema, from a document schema you defined. Okay, now let's jump to a demo. Here I have connection points. So this one is Kafka connection point, the new connector where you need to define a server address, API key, API secret, and select a security protocol. And then you can define your scenarios, consumer and producer. So this one is write scenario when you define a document and define a topic and key. In this case, I use the key value from my document schema. And this is example of read scenario. So we are going to read from this topic. Yes, and here we can define our scheduler. And here we can define our incremental settings. So I have two simple document flows. One document flow receives a message from IMS connection point. It's item master bot, sync item master. Then I have a script to transfer XML to JSON, but it's not necessary. Basically, you can write any data to your Kafka, so it can be XML, JSON, CSV, plain text, or any document. And then here we have a transformed XML to JSON, and then we will write this information to Kafka. Here are my two XML files I will use for this demo. So this is a sync master file. And in my Kafka connection point, I define this parameter, this one, warehouse location, to be used as a key. Here in the first file, we have office, value office, and in the second case, we have value production. And the second document flow that will read information from Kafka and save it to SFTP server as a JSON file. Okay, let's try to do it. So my write data flow is activated. I use a postman to send data to ION. I select item master XML1. Yeah, I send the file. So let me, before we do it, let me show Confluent Kafka. Here I have some messages. I put a filter from now. So I should not have any messages here. Okay, no messages. And let's send our file to ION. So the file is sent. So in a second, it should appear here. So here we have a file, our Kafka message. So the key is office, as I showed you here in this XML file. So this one, the office. So, and here, JSON generated from XML. So now let's try to send the second file. Sent. Okay, it was sent. So in a couple of seconds, we should receive the second message in Kafka. Yeah, this one. So here a key production. Yeah, our JSON with our warehouse information. Here production. Yeah. And now I will show you how we can read information from a Kafka. So here I have my SFTP server with one folder. It's empty now. So when I activate this document flow, I should receive two files. I set my scheduler to pull every minute, so it can take up to a minute for files to be read. Here is one, here is the second one. So if I download them, so I can, yeah, this one, the first one. And the second one. So, as I said, we read the data incrementally based on message offset. And if you want to read again all messages or read, I don't know, messages starting from one specific offset, you can do rewind incremental. On active connection point page, you can select your Kafka connection point and select this rewind incremental. Here you will see your topic. If you have several connection points, you will see or document in one connection point, you will see here different topics. And for each topic, you will see all partitions. And for each partition, we see the offset. So if we reset this partition and reactivate our document flow, we will read again all the documents. You can reset or you can set a specific number. So this was a demo for our new Kafka connector. If you have any questions or if you would like to have more information, please feel free to reach us. And yeah, that's all.
Thank you, Daniel. We're a couple of minutes over the estimated duration of the session, but I wanted to quickly go through the licensing for the solutions you've seen today. On the left side, you can see the solutions that are part of the Infor OS Essentials and above license. On the right-hand side are the solutions that require a separate license. Birst is in both. It is part of the Cloud Suite Analytics solution, But if you want to buy Birst Enterprise, it is a separate license. No matter your edition, both of them have the capabilities that you've seen here today. And with that, I would like to thank you for joining us today for this informative but fairly long webinar. A link to the feedback form should be in the chat. You can see the QR code that also takes you there. We appreciate your opinion as we strive to make these sessions valuable and beneficial to all. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your day, a good night, and we will see you next time.